Alright, Harmony Science Academy students, college prep. Let's go ahead and get into today's lesson. And as far as the vocabulary, you're looking at, again, factoring, okay, the word factor. And greatest common factor, okay, pick up those details and then factor by grouping. Very important in general, especially for this lesson. Okay, here's what the assignment will look like. Okay, you'll have about 14 of these to practice on, and then 13 very important review problems for you guys to earn your full credit, okay, before we do an EA. So there's that. Let's go ahead and try two problems, okay. The first one is going to be really the basics of the lesson. The second one is going to be those towards the end, right, the more challenging, same concept, just a little more in depth, okay. All right, so when it comes to looking at these problems, you're really going to be looking for factors, common factors, and always the greatest common factor, okay. All right, so number one is this polynomial of 4 terms. So the best way to approach it is look at these first 2 terms, right? So the first, like 10, you can basically do the same thing, okay. And I want to look at this and be like, what is the greatest common factor? So they're both divided by 5, and they both have an x squared in common, okay? So that's the most I could take out of both of them, all right? And if I divide this out of that, I'm left with an x. How can I check? X times this gives me this back plus 4, 5 times that, or excuse me, 5x times this gives me that, and 4 times this gives me that. So basically I'm taking this and dividing by that, and I should get this, and if I do the reverse I can check if I'm right. This times this gives me that, okay. Alright, now plus I look at these last 2 terms. What do they have in common? Just a 4, okay. So if I take 20x and divide by 4, I'm left with 5x. How can I check? 5x times 4 is 20x, plus 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16, okay. So again, remember how we previously had been dividing polynomials? That's still happening here. So just like me, I caught my mistake. That's what you guys want to do, is try and divide it to get your answer, and then take the answer, multiply it, and see if you get back what you started with, okay. Alright, so typically what you're going to find is that one of the terms matches the other term, okay. So that means I have 5x plus 4, and it's getting multiplied by 4, plus it's getting multiplied by this. So then I can just say it's 5x squared plus 4, okay. Of course, I'm going fast. I don't want to make too long of a video, but here's what you need to think about, is that this will distribute here and here, just like that, okay, just like this, and then plus 4 will get distributed like this, okay. I know some of you guys are going to pick this up easy, some of you guys not so easy, but hopefully you can perform these functions, and after a couple of them, you'll start picking up a pattern and feeling more confident, okay. So you really want to practice these on your own. Maybe check them with somebody, but always practice them on your own, okay. Alright, so let's go and try this next one. Okay, this one, again, these are the same concept, but just a little tougher, okay. Alright, so let's go and get into now what makes this tougher is to get started, you have to find something that they all have in common and pull it out right away, okay. So in this case, I notice that at least I can pull out a 2, okay. And this guy's got an x to the 5th, x to the 4th, x to the 5th, so they all have 4 x's, okay. They don't all have y's, v's, or x's, so, or excuse me. So that's it. That's all I can pull out. Now what I'm going to pull this out of each one of those. So basically I'm going to divide each one of these by this. So if I do this, I'll get a 6, right? X, y, okay. I'm not going to do it every time here, but if I multiply this times this, I should get back this term, okay. Now what do I get? It's 42 v, okay, minus 36 x plus 7 v y. Okay? That's just an extra step from the last problem. Now my focus is this guy in here. Okay? I'm just going to keep bringing him with me, but that's it. It's not going to distract me no more. Okay? Focus in here. Now, with these other ones, you're also going to have to adjust some of these terms. Okay? Notice that if I look at 6xy, these two, they actually do have a 6 in common, but I want a variable also in common. So, right, they really don't have a variable in common. So, I'm going to link these two. These guys have the 7 in common, the v in common, so I'm going to switch the order. If you're wondering how do you know, well, after you do some of those earlier ones, you'll get confidence, and then once you get here, you can take a little more time. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite 6xy, put it next to him, minus 42v plus 7vy. Okay. So again, I'll bring him down. I can't forget him. Okay. And now I look at these two, and I start factoring what's the largest amount I can factor, right? So they have a 6 in common and an x. Okay. So let's see here. I'm gonna do this here. I'm keeping the original parenthesis, but now since I'm factoring these two, I've got this times what's left. Oh, it would be a y here. This times this gives me that. Minus 6. Done. Okay? This part's been factored. Now I go to this one. Whoops. If I could try a different color. Okay. Alright, so in this next one, okay, what I'm going to have here is, I'm going to put a plus. Okay. What I'm going to do is out of these two, I'm going to factor out what would be the right thing to factor out here. Okay. I actually have to pause and think, because at the end, you want to have these terms matching, right? A y minus 6. So how can I do that? Okay. I might actually want to leave, oh yeah, let's go ahead and leave it as a plus, okay? So that means out of these two, I'm going to go ahead and factor out, what is it, and if I do it and it doesn't work out to have a similar term, then, I can redo it. So let me just go with my gut and see what happens, okay? So I'm going to pull out a negative 7v, which leaves me a 6v, right? 6v times this gives me that. Whoops, I have an extra. Okay, so this times this gives me that. And over here I have what? Minus y. Okay, so this times this gives me that. Now, if I close it, okay, check this out. I have y minus 6 here, I have 6 minus y. I wish it was switched, so that means I should have left that positive, okay? Again, it's the same concept, but notice that here you have to think a little bit more. Maybe try it more than one way, that's fine. Okay, so let me go ahead. And now if I factor out a 7v from here, I'm left with a negative 6. Whoops. Okay, and negative 6 times this gives me this, and this divided by that leaves me a plus y. Okay, so basically I have y minus 6. So now that it worked out, I can go ahead and rewrite it this way. Pay attention. Okay. This is where I would rather use a bracket like that. Okay. Plus 7v times, I'm going to switch these. Okay. And hopefully now you see where I'm going with this. Now that they have this in common, I can factor that one out. Okay. So I have y minus 6. Okay. Once I take that out, look what's left over. 6x minus 7v. Okay. And last but not least, since let's see here, I want to go ahead and remove anything that's not necessary, so these brackets can be removed. Okay. Right. And before I remove them, I did quickly observe that it's 6x plus 7v, so that should be a plus here. Oops. Plus. So the final answer would be basically 2x to the 4th y minus 6, 6x plus 7v. Alright, don't let this intimidate you. Make sure you take your time on the earlier ones. If this becomes a little difficult for you here, make sure you spend your time on those beginning ones really thoroughly so you can build up your confidence, and then once you get here, you'll be a lot better, okay? Alright, we'll catch you in class.